lesson 28. This lesson we're going to work with two-step word problems, and we're going to deal with average. We're going to deal with average probably more than anything, but part of finding that average is going to require that you take 2 steps. So we're going to solve word problems that require more than 1 step and calculate the average or the mean of a list of numbers. Our vocabulary is mean. Mean is another word for average. Average is another word for mean. So when you calculate the average of something, you add up all of your numbers and then you divide by the number of numbers that you had. I like to call it a mean average, just to help me to remember that average equals mean. Because on math tests, they're not going to ask you to calculate the average. They're going to ask you to calculate the mean. So you need to know that mean is average. So I like to think that if you're an average person, you're just normal. You're not mean. But if you're mean average, you're mean average. You've got a good average. It's a mean average. You just take all of your numbers, you add them up, and you divide it by the number. So just remember that mean is the average of the numbers that you add together divided by the total numbers that you had to begin with. We'll go over this quite a bit, but it'll be a fast lesson. So far we've worked with one-step word problems involving combining, separating, comparing parts of the whole, elapsed time, equal groups. Often, though, problems require more than 1 step to solve. In this lesson, we're going to actually use multiple steps to solve word problems. And these problems are going to involve 2 or more of those methods of combining, separating, parts of the whole, that kind of stuff. But I think that for the most part, you will get it. I think the hardest thing that you'll have to remember from this lesson is that mean means average. So let's start. Julia went to the store with $20. If she bought 8 cans of dog food for 67 cents per can, how much money did she have left? So what's it asking us to tell? How much money she spent. How much money she have left means how much money did she spend? Well, let's pull out of this the information that we need. One is that we know that Julia, when she went to the store, she had $20. When she got to the store, she grabbed 8 cans of dog food, and each can cost 67 cents per can. So how would we figure out how much money she spent on the dog food, and then how much would we figure out how much she had left over of her $20 once she bought the dog food? That's what you're trying to solve. Okay, so this is a 2-step problem. First, we find out how much she spent by multiplying the 8 cans by 67 cents a can. So we know that Julia spent $5.36 of her $20. Now we can find out how much money she had left over by doing step 2, which is just subtracting the $5.36 from her $20, which will tell us that she had $14.64 left. And that would be our answer. There's 4 squads in the physical education class. This is going to be a question that deals with the mean or the average. There are 4 squads. So there's 4 teams, let's say, 4 squads in a PE class. Squad A has 7 players. Squad B has 9 players. Squad C has 6 players. And Squad D has 10. So what's the average number of players per squad? So the way you figure this out is you got to add these numbers up, get an answer, and then divide by what? That's correct. You can divide by 4. Go ahead and pause this and see if you can do that. Okay, if you add those all up, you should have got 32. 32 divided by 4 tells you that the average players per squad is 8. That's the average or the mean amount of players. When people are seated, there are 3 rows. In the first row, there's 3 people. In the second row, there's 8 people. And in the third row, there's 10 people. So what's the number of people, average number of people in each of the first 3 rows? So here's a row of people, here's a row of people, here's a row of people. It says there's 3 in this row, there's 8 in this row, and there's 10 in this row. But what's the average for the 3 rows? How are you going to figure that out? It's a 2-step problem. So what's the first thing you need to do? That's correct. You need to add these all up. 10 plus 8 plus 3, that's 21 people. And how many rows are they on? They're on 3 rows. How many times is 3 going to 21? 7 times. So our average number of people in each of the first 3 rows is 7. That's the answer that you should have came up with. Seven people per row. That's it. You should be able to do anything that's new on your written practice. Your tickets in the door are numbers 2, 7, A, B, C, and D, and number 24. If you have any questions, bring them to class tomorrow. Let's go over them all together. Thank you for watching the video.